Got my man Stretch, Buddha Stretch in the building.
The man himself, Flatbush, what up? Pop, what's good? Buddha Stretch,
I'm
what's
here, man.
good?
I'm here. I'm just trying to get my volume up, everything. You know me.
Buddha Stretch, how you doing, man? It's an honor and it's a pleasure, man. We live. This is Flatbush. I feel like it's an honor to have you here, my brother.
Honor is mine, brother.
Mm,
So,
honor.
going,
Definitely an honor, man. Sonny, you
yeah,
in here, boss?
I'm in here, man. We live. So,
We
I think,
live?
yeah, we've been live.
All right, man. Yo,
We,
this
we
we are Flatbush is in the building. Technical difficulties stepping in, but we have the legendary Buddha Stretch up in here. The legendary dance man, the man that hit plenty dance floors, clubs all over the world. I'm glad to have him here, finally here on We Are Flatbush. What up,
I want
Stretch?
I want
What's
to add
good?
something to that. I want to add
Oh, you
something
want
to
to add
that though,
something to
because
that? Add something to that.
yeah, if I can respectfully, because I feel like I dance right. I seen Pop do a little two step here and there. This man is an entertainer, bro. This man is an educator, right? You know what I'm saying? And it goes back. So I want to be clear with that. I could do a little two step. I could bust a little wine, but doing my research, I see the brother actually teaches dance and is into dance. I look at the history and I think like, wow, this is dope. It's not a two step right here. This is somebody that been moving and shaking for a minute.
That's a
How you
fact.
doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Give thanks, man. I mean, it's still a two-step. It's just a little, we built it off the two-step and took it, a little bit up.
With a two step with a clap and a spin. I got the clap and the spin too.
Hey, look, as long as you got the two-step, it's a lot of motherfuckers that's doing a one-step and, it's a bit off.
I'm, how my father, how my father used to say, you got two left feet.
Yeah, man. Some people just don't even got 2 feet. They just on the good foot and it's not good.
That's
Right,
crazy.
right.
That's crazy. Well, so
We,
this, I want to start it off like this, bro. Um, why do you call yourself Buddha Stretch? Like, I was just sitting here for the last 2 days, and I was just sitting there. Why did he call himself Buddha Stretch? I want to know
that's
that first.
that's a dope combination too, by the way.
Yeah.
I know some Buddhas and I know some stretches, but I don't know a Buddha stretch.
Well, it's Stretch was a name that came from I was at my man Professor Paul's house. Uh
Ooh.
and a friend of his was there. We were practicing and we were picking, our dance names. Shout out to Professor Paul and Professor P. Those
Mm.
two people that put me on to what this hip hop thing is. And so, and my man Prince D, uh, we were at Paul's house and picking names, and one dude said I stretch like a slinky when I dance,
That's
and
dope.
so I picked Slinky at first.
Mm.
My partners was Prince D and Snake, so Prince D, Snake, and Slinky sounded ridiculous. So I remember what dude said. He said stretch like a slinky. So then I was like, okay, Prince D, Snake, stretch.
Mm.
And then that stuck. Once I said stretch, it was on and popping from there. And then the Buddha is because I'm a Buddhist. My pops was a Buddhist, and he
Mm,
introduced me to Buddhism when I was like, I say about 17,
mm,
and from 17 till about I say I think I was like 24, 23. I was studying and I met different people, and they educated me on different things in Buddhism. And so every time I met someone or I traveled somewhere and I learned something new, I would come back and teach my pops what I knew. And he started calling me Master Stretch. And
mm.
I was uncomfortable with that. So my man Khalif was like, he was there. He understood that I was, um, uncomfortable being called a master. So he said, "I'm gonna call you Buddha. We're gonna call you Buddha Stretch." And I was like, "Okay." I kind of like that. That has a nice ring to it. So that's
So,
where the names come from.
That's
so the
dope.
Buddha, so the Buddha Stretch.
That's
You
dope. We're going.
mentioned
I definitely want to get into it later on. Not now, because I know Pop got a couple of joints, but I want to get into the Buddha thing and some meditation, because I'm big on meditation, and I admire Buddhas and Buddhists with their mind frame and how they go about life. So I definitely want to spin back to that in a few.
talk
True
up,
indeed.
Sonny.
Oh, pardon me. I definitely want to spin back to that in a few. What year you talking about when you came up with this name at the crib when y'all was coming up with names?
Oh well, let me see. The name thing with at Professor Pro P's Queer, I think that's like 1983.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
1982, 83. It's been a minute. And then
That's
about a decade, the Buddha thing is 1993.
mm,
that's that's like the heart of. So this is 83. You got a lot of young people that tap in, a lot of people from all over different places. That's, to me, I consider to be like one of the, like almost like the heart of the beginning of hip hop. And at that time, could you explain to the people like what the b-boy scene was, what the hip hop scene was like? Because I call the hip hop the Trinity. You got,
Right.
hip MCing, you got dancing, and you got graffiti. And people
Yeah, and the
always
DJ.
forget
I
about
mean,
some of
at the
those.
time, that's how I learned about it. I was dancing. I was just, 1982 is when I got into high school, and I was dancing, and that's when we met my man Snake, and I didn't know that the dance was part and parcel with the DJ and the MC and the graffiti. I knew dancers, I knew DJs, I knew MCs, but I didn't know this whole thing was one thing called hip hop. And again, it's Professor Paul and Pro P, Professor P, my man Prince D's older brother. They're the ones that introduced and let me know this is all one thing. And shout out to Professor Paul. He also was
um,
the first one to take me to the Deuce. We went to see the kung fu flicks, and
Hmm.
he was the one that they were the two that let me know that okay, this whole thing is called hip hop. It's all one thing, and then at that time when we got into the dance, we got into the culture of it because you didn't dance without the DJ. It was no music,
that's a fact.
and if you was taking part in the culture, you took part in every part of the culture. So, when I met up with people that wrote graffiti and they tag in their name, I drew. I was an art student in school, so I had to learn how to tag my name. And that became part and parcel of the process. Wherever I went, we put up the tag. You put up your name, your crew name, everything. And then like as I try to teach my students, the culture was at that time you did everything. You didn't do one thing.
That's a
You
fact.
got if you was into the culture, you dabbled in all of the culture. You just wasn't stuck in one part. And
Mm,
what these kids don't know now is, we party. That's where the culture comes from.
that's a fact.
They don't know what that means. They don't know how to party.
Mm.
Right.
I wanted to piggyback off of what you just said earlier. I mean, not earlier,
Mhm.
what you just said. You said two things that I like to talk about. Um, you said Professor Paul. That's one of my
Right.
big homies in the hood. He's a Professor Paul. As you say, Professor Paul's name, I just sat back and I'm like, damn, there's a lot of brothers came through Paul. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't know
man.
you came through Paul. I
Yes,
know
sir.
Roger came through Paul. That
Yep.
DJ Majesty. Some other
DJ
cats in the
Majesty.
industry. So, like, tell me something about Professor Paul because I know about him. I want you to explain to people about Professor Paul.
Man, we used to practice at Paul's crib. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
He was one of the first cats that I knew of that could, that was DJing that could cut and scratch and
Nasty.
mix. You know what I'm saying? And it's through Paul that again, he's the first person that let me know that cutting, scratching, DJing, MCing, breaking and popping and graffiti is called hip hop. He's the one that
Mm.
took us to the Deuce,
Mm.
to see the kung fu flicks. He was telling us about, the different rappers, the different DJs and educating us about the culture. And like I said, we used to practice in his crib. and his younger cousin Sean, who became an MC himself, MC Fresco. He won the
Damn, Fresco.
yeah, he won the DMC MC contest 1989. I remember because I was there, but I knew Sean from way back. I met him at Paul's house, and so I go all the way back that far back with him. He was the impetus. He introduced me to Clark Kent. He took me. That was my Paul was the my
Paul's
mentor and
that guy.
instructor for the whole hip hop experience. Without Paul, I'm not doing this. So I
Salute.
always shout him and Professor P, my man Pierre, my bro Danny Prince D. That was his older brother.
Okay.
And they was the two professors. They were in separate crews when we first started, and then they got down together. But we used to practice in his house.
I know the big homie. I know him very well. Very, 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 very talented on the turntables. Very talented. You also said high school, and you mentioned Paul, the high school. What high school you went to? Because I know Paul lived in the Flatbush area too. And what part of Flatbush you from? So
I used to live. Listen, I done lived everywhere in Flatbush. Okay. When I was really young, we lived on in East Flatbush on Lenox Road and 53rd. I lived on Hawthorne and Flatbush. I lived on Hawthorne and Nostrand. I lived on Flatbush and Farragut. I lived on Avenue D and 21st Street. I lived on Beverly Road and East 18th Street. I lived on, the thing about it is my mother's family is from the South. My father's family is from Panama. So, if I wasn't at my mom's crib, I was at my pop's crib. So my pops lived in Flatbush all over the place. And my mom's and her family moved from Flatbush to Bed-Stuy and Crown Heights back and forth. So I basically lived most of my life in Flatbush. My sisters was born in Kings County. My oldest daughter was born in Kings County. So I'm born and bred Flatbush. What I'm
Flatbush
saying?
all
I
day,
grew
man.
up all over Flatbush.
You lived around Flatbush, so I'm
Yeah,
definitely
man.
you're a real
That's what I
Flatbush
try to
area.
explain to people when they talk about Flatbush, man. I lived all over. I used to live on what is it? Woodruff and Ocean Avenue. You know what I'm saying? I used to go to, I used to go to Park Circle roller skating rink as the mob heads would say. That's where I made my bones at. So I lived all over Flatbush my whole life. So I could never when I tell people I'm from Brooklyn, they say, "What part of Brooklyn?" The first thing come out my mouth is Flatbush.
We salute that.
And
We salute that. We salute everybody that keep Flatbush in their mouth when they go across the world.
Yeah,
on
man.
any platform and anything like that. We salute them because
it's no way I would ever say anything else. I tell people there's 3 spots in Brooklyn, Flatbush, Bed-Stuy, and Bushwick. Because my grandmother and them lived in my nana lived in Bushwick. My grandmother lived in East Flatbush, and my mother's family, settled in Bed-Stuy. But we lived in Flatbush, my whole life. Like my aunt lived on what is that? Avenue D and Bedford Avenue. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I used to the reason I went to South Shore High School. I went to Roy H. Mann Junior High School. The reason I got to go to those schools because my mom's used my aunt's address on Avenue D and Bedford for me to get bused to school. So I literally used to take the bus down from Hawthorne to in the morning to my aunt's crib to catch the yellow bus to go all the way out to fucking Roy H. Mann. And that was I
what
went
year you
from there
talking about?
well, actually, I'm tripping. I went to PS 312 first, then Roy H. Mann Junior High School, then South Shore.
So let
And
me
that's all because I lived in Flatbush.
so let me ask you this, because you said you started high school in 82, you said?
Yeah. My first year of
Okay,
high school.
and being from Flatbush, we speak to a lot of people. And I think people underestimate the Flatbush influence. Kango Kid to Bus to Spliff Star to, I mean, who else we spoke to? I mean, so many people that Sadat X, there's so many people that's come from Professor Pro P, all these different people. Paint a picture for me because a lot of people think West Indian, a lot of people think dance hall, but with this type of hip hop from you, from DJs, from MCs, what was the picture? What was the vibe in Flatbush, hip hop wise, in '83? Because that was a pivotal time. I think Run
Well,
DMC
listen,
came
man,
out in '83.
I try to explain to people like, you know, dance hall, soca, all of that is the backdrop in Flatbush because it's Caribbean, but
Right.
it's hip hop as well because they talk about hip hop starts in the Bronx and all of that, and that's great. But it's way more people in Brooklyn than it was in the Bronx, and
Right.
so you could go anywhere in Brooklyn and there's a block party and there's hip hop playing. Grandmaster
Mm.
Flowers is from Flatbush.
Ooh.
That's the first time I saw. At least that's what I was told. The first time I saw Grandmaster Flowers was in 1992 Park in 1981 or 82.
Damn.
And I didn't even know who he was at the time. My cousin told me years later that was Grandmaster Flowers. So hip hop was prevalent anywhere you went in Flatbush. If you went to a block party, you're gonna hear reggae, soca, dancehall, whatever, but you're gonna hear hip hop as well. And by the time you get to 82, Planet Rock is the biggest record on earth.
Yeah.
And
Planet
it's
Rock.
playing on every corner in every hood in the city. We used to go from block party to block party, and that's how I met other dancers and MCs and DJs and all of that. From traveling from block party to block party, and then when I was in high school, we used to cut out of school and go to different schools to battle heads.
And dancing?
Yep, used to
I
go
mean
to
break
different.
dancing, like break dancing type stuff?
Yeah, man, we had a whole
Yeah.
crew. Shout out to my original first crew, Grand Floor Wizards. We used to practice at the Triangle right there before you get to the junction.
What?
We used to practice right there, and
What?
we had a crew called Grand Floor Wizards, and
That's a
we was
dope
all
name.
in the same high school, and some of us lived in Flatbush in the same hood, and then we would meet up in the school, and then travel to another school. Like went to Canarsie, we went all the way out to my sister's school in Fort Hamilton. We
Hmm.
went to Madison. We went to Midwood. We was going to every high school we could think of, that we knew how to get to, and we was going in to battle folks, and to find out what dancers were there, and what they did, who they were, where they was from, and to battle them. And that was the thing. We was coming from Flatbush deep,
That's
going
what's
all
up.
over.
That's what's up. That's what's up right
And
there.
I got to shout out to God Jameek because he's the first person that took me to the very first time I went to a club at 15. He took me all the way up to Broadway International in Harlem,
Broadway
1983.
International. Wow.
You
Wow.
know,
That's
and
deep.
he used to take me. He took me uptown. Used to take me to East New York. That's where I met the brother Shakalak, and I met some other dancers. And he was one of the first people that I saw dance in Flatbush.
Was it
Okay.
was it a thing where I know Broadway International, a couple of my OGs always talk about Broadway International and spots like that. Was it a thing back in the days? I was like 8 at these times, and I always looked up to the dancers. I always wanted to pop and lock. I was that little kid on the side that would try to imitate the moves while dudes was doing it. But was there? But I was only in Brooklyn because I was so young. But did Harlem cats, Bronx cats, or different cats that when you was traveling, were there different styles? Like was certain cats more head spinning and more cats over here was popping and locking, or how did that work out?
Well, it depended on where you went. It was everywhere. Everybody had a little something in every hood. Like I said, we used to travel all over, and you would meet different dancers in different areas. You had, but everybody was, breaking and popping and all of that. It was nowhere that you could go and it wasn't prevalent. I
Hmm.
met heads from the Lower East Side. I met heads from Harlem, from the Bronx, from Queens, from Jersey. So everywhere you went, you would meet somebody or somebody that knew somebody that danced. And one of the places that how I started meeting was I started traveling to the city to Washington Square Park, and because I met a couple of dancers. They used to talk about, yo, you need to come to the park. And I'm from Brooklyn. I don't know what park they talking about. They talking park. I'm thinking, Prospect Park. They talking about, no, Washington Square Park in Manhattan. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know nothing about that, and that's in the Village. So the first time I went out there, I was tripping, like, because I was like, where the fuck am I? And, it's all these strange people. One of the people that told me about that, I told about the park that started hanging out more again was Professor Paul's cousin, Fresco, Sean. He started going, and I couldn't go at one point. Because the funny shit is I remember we went for the Beat Street audition in 1983. We went straight, met in the morning in high school, went straight to Manhattan to the Roxy. We was one of the first groups on the line to get in. And we went to the Beat Street audition, and then I went with Professor Paul, Professor P, and a bunch of other people. We went to some college upstate or some shit after that. And we went on a Friday and came home on a Sunday. Now, mind you, I'm 15 years old. I ain't supposed to break nights, much less break
Your
weekends.
mama looking for you, boy.
So my mom's was like, you ain't leaving this house for the next month. So that was also the time that I first started going to the park. So while the time that I was stuck in the crib, Sean was going to the park and he was telling me, yo, this cat and this cat and this. So as soon as I could get out the house, I started going to the city regularly, and then I went to the Roxy, broke night again. My mom's just like, you can't go out again. Then finally she just realized, like, I can't keep you in the house. So just, let me know when you going out somewhere and check in. And then that was my free pass. After that, I was gone. I was never in the house.
So
I hear these kids talk about they was outside. I'm like, y'all don't know what outside is.
Not at all.
so when you was outside in these clubs, right? Not even the clubs, when you said you was going to the parks and meeting these new dancers, was y'all like, were they creating groups in these new dance? Matter of fact, before I get to that point, I heard that you was part of a group called IOU.
Yeah,
and that group, tell the people who's in that group.
well, first and foremost, my crew was before that crew. And everybody gets us mixed up because we dance in the same, we dance in the same club in the same circles. But shout out to IOU. If you know anything about Big Daddy Kane, he had two dancers, Scoob and Scrap. Scoob is from IOU. You know what I'm saying? If you know about MOP, the third member of MOP is Lazy Lays. Lazy Lays was a dancer from the IOU dancers.
Right.
Man, Mike Swift, my man Muhammad, my man Reg. There's a lot of dancers. We all started together in a club called Union Square. My
14th
crew was
Street.
called the JAC Dancers. We were named after the promoters of the club. These cats called John, Andre, and Chris. They were former dancers as well. And so my man Tron, who's from Coney Island, came up with the using those initials as our crew. It was he took JAC and said just another crew. And then we had our manager, God bless the dead, Michelle. She turned it from just another crew to Jack of all crafts. And we was the first crew to dance in Union Square. They hired us to perform as the opening act for all of the rappers there. All of the rappers that they booked, they booked us to open up for them to get the crowd hype. And then IOU formed right after we did. And we was all in Union Square together along with another crew that don't get enough recognition. It was an all-female crew called Nonstop with hi-hat, swatch, and Little Bit. Again, Little Bit and hi-hat. Hi-hat became, and it still is, Missy Elliott's choreographer. And she's, again, from Flatbush. You know what I'm saying? We, when people talk about the dance and stuff, I always try to explain to them like, you know, we was in the clubs, but Flatbush was deep in the clubs, and we have deep roots in this. And, if you want to give credit for, the dance, freestyle hip hop, you got to give credit to Flatbush because it's a ton of us that was from Flatbush. Shout out to my man Trini. Used to live on Church and 21st, dance with Salt and Pepper. Used to be in Union
Okay.
Square, was in my crew also. So we all danced in that club, and then that club closed, and we moved to the Latin Quarter. We danced first in the Latin Quarters, and then Paradise started managing the IOU dancers, and they started dancing in the club. And that's where the confusion comes from because everybody saw us together dancing in Union Square, and then, you know, first us and then them dancing at Latin Quarters and assumed we was all one crew.
Okay.
Well,
That's good. Well,
we, we,
Sonny, I'm gonna let you ask this one thing. I want to ask one. It's kind of funny because in hip hop, in the music business, they got beefs with this crew, this crew. Was there any type of dancing beefs?
Nah, not really, cause if you had a beef with somebody, it's about the dance. You battled them. It wasn't that whole the whole thing. The thing about it early on, I will say this in the culture is you didn't talk about shit. You had to be about it. So if you said you could rhyme, you had to be able to spit on the spot. Heads was coming for you. If
That's a
you could
fact.
DJ, niggas put turntables in front of you and said, show and prove. If you said you could dance, you had to get in the cipher and show and prove. Otherwise, heads was coming at you. If you was a graffiti writer, you had to be able to tag, or you had to be able to do a throw up, which is a quick tag with the spray, with the spray can, or do a whole piece. You couldn't say you could do something and then not show and prove. That's a tenet from the nation of gods and earth. And so if you didn't like somebody in the way they did something, you stepped to them. And it wasn't about, we ain't had no internet and trolling and all that shit. You couldn't talk about it. You had to be about it. And so it wasn't no real beefs. It was like, I would say it's some heads that was jealous because they wasn't getting the light that they felt they deserved. That's about it. But it was no real beefs. You know.
Okay.
I guess my question was kind of in the same vein as what Pop asked. Not necessarily about beef, but I think about the intensity of that time. You just said the gods and the earths, right? I know the gods is pretty intense. If you ain't know the knowledge and all that, you was getting beat up, or that time was a real serious time. And I heard you
Universal
name
beatdown.
Universal Beatdown downtown and all that. So I think of I think of crews, and when you say crews, first question is how big were these crews? Like 5, 6 dudes, 10 dudes, 3-man
Ooh,
crews.
good one. Good
Oh
one.
man, Cruz was deep.
Mm,
Um, Cruz was deep. Let me put it this way: what the first crew that I was in, it was like damn near 20 of us.
Okay.
mm.
From the neighborhood and from because first I met heads in high school, and then we practiced in the neighborhood, and neighborhood kids was down with us. So Cruz was deep, and you used to roll with your crew because when you roll somewhere else, you're going into somebody else's hood. If you ain't go deep, you might not make it back.
That's a fact. I can imagine.
You
And
know what I'm
Off of
saying? So if
dancing
we
too? Off of
traveling,
dancing?
well, that's why I
we from
asked
Flatbush,
because
if we traveling to Brownsville, we gotta be deep because niggas
got
in
to
Brownsville ain't playing.
right. That's why I asked because I think of you said Beat Street auditions. I think of Beat Street. Like I said, I was a little dude at that time, so I was really intense into these movies. And another movie I think of people probably sleep on is The Last Dragon. because
Yep.
he was. You know why? Because I love that little kid because he was like me, walking around with the radio trying to be down, and he couldn't get
Yep.
down. But I always remember he was intensely sneaking in. He was beefing with Bruce Leroy. I remember in Beach Street, the dudes was in the train station. But you say it's no beef, but dudes will gobble a dude's head up in a dance, swallow it down, then regurgitate it, put it back in his face, and then other dudes, I'm saying, other dudes is pop. So nobody ever got in a beef. That says a lot about the
Well,
times
no,
that
it's
it
not
was.
that heads didn't have a beef. It's that's the thing. What you talking about is a battle. So if you got beef with somebody, you step to them. If you didn't like a crew or somebody, you step to them. You called them out. You had to step to them and be like, you got to show and prove. And it's one of the things that I teach these youngsters now because they have the battles and they have what they call battles, but they dance contests. You got
Mm,
judges, you got a time limit, you got DJs, you got a space. If I remember, one of my first battles was in front of my door on 1384 Flatbush Avenue.
Damn.
That's where I lived at. I was practicing in front of my door, and this dude stepped to me right then and there and was like, "You don't know how to pop." You know what I'm saying? And then I remember, traveling to a cat's crib, ringing his bell and asking his mom could he come out. And when come to the door, I said, "You know what time it is. Come outside and get this work." You know what I'm saying? So that was a real battle. Like, that's real beef. Like, I really want to step to you. I'm going to show you like I'm better than you. And that used to happen constantly. I remember I was just talking about this recently. I had to battle this b-boy from the Lower East Side. His name was Stretch, and so he wanted to battle for the name. But I didn't break. I was popping, and he was breaking. So he's like, "I got my popper and my crew. He'll battle you, and then I'll battle whoever you got in your crew that break." And so, you know, un he didn't know that I already battled his best popper and beat him. So he brought another cat and I smoked him too. So then when he said he wanted to battle who I had, and when I told him it's powerful from Flatbush, he ain't want no smoke. He never showed up for that battle. And
Damn,
so
brother.
that's
describe
how I kept the name.
describe popping and breaking though for the people who don't know.
Well, popping is up top. Popping is flexing your muscles to the music, and breaking is more athletic, I will say. And you
Floor
got to
work,
spin.
flips.
You got to be able to have footwork. You
Okay.
you know you got what's called power, like windmills, head spins. And now these kids
Mm.
are doing air flares and all this other stuff. But they're two entirely different dances. Breaking is from New York. Popping is from the West Coast, from L.A.
Really? I didn't know that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
think. I think. Yeah.
so
Locking,
at
popping.
80 so at 83, so you saying if one came from LA, is 83, let's say 84, that means LA hip hop scene was the same way on the streets, graffiti, the DJ, because we
Well,
didn't really hear
no,
from
you
LA.
got to realize that LA had an entirely different scene that was separate. What happened on the West Coast is they didn't have what we had at first. Like, they had their own scene with in the 70s it was locking, and then in the early 80s it was popping. And then they got breaking from us and we got popping from them, and that's how the shit merged. When
Okay.
hip hop came out there, they got into it, and then they had their dance, and that came to New York in the late 70s also. So you had a mixture of things, but they two separate things because they wasn't doing graffiti and stuff out there until they got hip hop in the early 80s.
Mm.
But they was doing the popping and locking thing from the 70s. So the two cross over because it's black people. So everybody got family in the South, and so that was the focal point. You would meet. The first time I saw somebody, like I said earlier, the first person that I saw do the dance that I saw on Soul Train, which was popping, was the guard Jameek, but his name was Dr. Jam at the time, and he was at a party that I saw on again where my aunt lived next door on Avenue D and Bedford, and then I met him. I saw him dance. That was like 79, 80, and then I met him a couple of years later when I started dancing. And then I met a couple of other cats, and they told me about cats that they met that were from the West Coast. And that's how they got into the dance. The same thing. They saw the dance on Soul Train, or they met somebody from the South who knew somebody from the West, and that's where they learned to dance from. And it's the same thing when you travel to the West. They learned about breaking from somebody from the South or from the East that came to the West Coast, and they had the hip hop tapes of like Cold Crush and Grandmaster Flash and the Force MCs before they was the Force MDs. So those tapes and stuff came out there, and that's how they got into the whole rap and DJ thing, and into breaking. So it was basically a crossover of the two, but they're two separate things, two separate histories.
Before Pop, I know Pop got a question. I just want to paint a picture for the people. We're talking about a time where there's no internet. We're
Yep.
talking about a time before you could get clout and battle somebody and everybody goes viral. So we're talking about West Coast, East Coast. We're talking about a time of payphones and no cell phones. So this you can't even really bite somebody's moves. You
Nope.
can't really even. You gotta be in the crib on like one of the weekends where your mom put you on punishment for a month for breaking day for the weekend,
Yep.
and you just practice in the hallway.
Hard.
And the dudes in the West Coast is practicing and popping. So I think that's amazing because I think of West Coast, I think of Easy in there when they kick down the door. I don't
Yep.
think of 83 and them being a part of that. So I think that that's really says a lot about the times and how communication travel and how word of mouth and different things in the culture just travel without all the things that we have now. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Magazines.
The crazy shit is
Magazines.
like if you listen to the Triple OG Ice T, he'll tell you he was one of the first ones out there, that was a part of the culture. He knew about that's how he got into rapping and dancing and all of that. That's how he got out of the life, as he calls it. And he's the blueprint for Easy E and all of them, and he was born here in Jersey, and then he got sent to the West Coast, but
I
it's
see.
always been, a crossover because, black people travel. When I was young, we traveled south to see my mother's family almost every summer or every other summer, or we would travel way south to see my father's family in Panama. And all of the people that I know from back then, it's the same thing. You always met cousins from afar, and they brought their culture from what part of wherever they lived at from to you, and you learned something from them,
Yeah, you
and
learn
they took
something
some
new.
of New York back with them to wherever they was from.
That's true. That's true. You go down south. I mean, you go to some other when you go to somebody else's state, they say do what they do. You know what I mean? You learn something different. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
let me ask you about. I'm about to stick on this little. Then I'm gonna switch to something else. But let me ask you about some crews. Cause I heard you talk about the dancing in a lot of crews. But name some of the crews that was out. Like like the Mop Top, like like your crew. Like now I might say MOP, and people might think MOP, but we talking about your dance crew, Mop Top. So let the people know about Mop Top and know about the other crews like Jiggy, IBM, and all of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When we started originally, this is before Mop Top. We was the JAC dancers, and then you had the IOU dancers. You had Nonstop. Then you had IBM. You had what we call it SOS. They danced with Brand Nubian, Grand Poobah. Shout out to our Truth and Talim. You had again Nonstop. They was the first all female group. You had a crew from an all female crew from Harlem called the Gucci Girls.
Mm.
If you see what is it Guy's video for the song Groove Me, they got
Mhm.
on Dapper Dan outfits that say Gucci Girls, and they dancing all throughout that video. They was in Dougie Fresh's video with us. They was doing their thing back then also. And
Okay.
then you had crews from other places like again, how the dance that we did, this is just hip hop, spread to the West Coast is because you had, we went on when my man Cliff Love he was on tour with Houdini and brought me out.
Right.
And
I
then,
was just about to ask you that.
yeah, he introduced me to some brothers from the West Coast called the Soul Brothers. And they came to New York and brought all of what they learned back to the West Coast. Then you
Okay.
had, the brother Divine Styler, who was again from New York. He moved to the West Coast and he brought all of what we was doing with him. So you had this crossover, and that's how, they ended up doing stuff that we did, and we ended up picking up on things that they did, and this was happening everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And but those are some of the main crews from back
Proof.
then. And then this is the 80s. We ain't even get to the 90s yet. Because a lot of people think what we was doing in the 90s was brand new, but that's all stuff that we was already doing in the 80s. It just became more popular in the 90s.
Yeah, by the time the '90s came, it was a whole different look. We already had Soul Train and Beat Street and the linoleum on the floor. Remember the linoleum or the cardboard dudes would pull
Yep.
up with a cardboard? Did the linoleum really help? 'Cause I used to always see that and be like,
Well, you got to realize that cardboard is cardboard. That should get wet. It's useless. Linoleum isn't. You know what I'm saying? Linoleum is linoleum. You spill something on it, that should roll right off.
Roll right on.
And
right.
then it's not it's a non-adhesive surface, so you could spit on it better.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you
You
can
know,
definitely. I did my breakdancing back in the days. You know what I mean? I had my burgundy windbreaker. Put them in the pouch. You put it in the pouch.
In the pouch. Remember the pouch?
Yeah, you
Oh
got to put it in
man.
the pouch. You know what I mean? So,
Wow.
Stretch. Let me ask you. So, with all this dancing that you dancing with all these crews from the clubs back in the days and from the parks and knocking on niggas' doors, where was the entrance for you to step into the music business and start going into people's videos and going on tours?
well, that's what I'm saying. That there's two different eras that I'm talking about. The early '80s is the breakdancing era.
Right.
And then the mid to late '80s, that's over with. Now you got what we call the golden era, and
That's a
that's when we
fact.
doing hip hop. We not
Hip
spinning
hop.
on our backs and on our heads no more. We doing the WAP. We doing the Running Man.
The
We doing
rooftop.
that shit in the clubs with the girls, and that happened. As I said, we danced in Union Square Latin Quarters, and because we was dancing in the club, these two clubs, like, we opened up for the rappers. So when we was in Union Square, that's the first time Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, their first performance in New York, Union Square. Eric B and Rakim, Union Square. Grand Poobah, before Brand Nubians, he was in a crew called Masters of Ceremony.
That's
Mm-hmm.
facts. Facts.
They performed. That's Union Square. Just Ice, Union
Union
Square.
Square. KRS
BDP, The
One.
Bridge is Over, South Bronx. That's Union
Union
Square, Latin
Square.
Quarters. So all of these places, you see in these new, legendary now, but this is where they started. And they saw us dance. And so that became like, oh, we need some kind of show like that. They get the party popping. And what happened was we was doing the shows in the club, and then they started asking us to do music videos or do stage shows. The first time that I worked with an artist was for 1986 with Joski Love, the Pee Wee dance, brand new dance called the Pee.
Pee Wee Herman.
I did this whole show for that. That was my first job, outside of dancing in the club. That's my first choreography job, and then we did Eric B for President, but they never released the video. But we got hired because they saw us perform in Union Square. And then the same thing we did live at Union Square, The Bridge is Over with KRS-One and BDP, God bless the dead for Scott LaRock. And long story short, that became the outgrowth for the dance. Later on at Latin Quarters, that's how IOU was in Salt and Pepper's video for Tramp. Then Nonstop is in all the Kid and Plays videos, and then my man Trini, he does Push It, and he's on tour with Salt and Pepper, and then Scoob goes and he joins Big Daddy Kane, and now you seeing him, with Kane, ain't no half stepping and all, and he got scrapped. So the dance took off because they saw us performing in the clubs, and they saw the response from the dance had on the audience. And then prior to all of what I just said, I mean, not prior to, but prior to, all the other crews that had dancers, the first ones that did it was Houdini. They had, breaking and popping and for the Fresh Fest and all of that. And then they got hip hop with me and my man Cliff. Cliff pulled me, and he had saw our performance at Union Square, and he told Jalil, "Yo, you got to get this in your show." And so Jalil listened to him, and they brought me out, and then we blew up from that way. From that, I went on tour with them in 1987 for the Def Jam tour, and then everybody after that got dancers. 88, 89, 90. Now you have every rap group or R&B group or whatever, they got backup dancers, and that's all from Houdini.
So
look, go ahead, Pop.
talk, son.
What I heard you say a couple of songs that get me hyped, man. The Bridge is Over, a couple of joints. I feel like dancing right now. My 3 left feet. But if you could give me like 3 songs, like just to give me an idea what your style was and how you move, that if you hear it, like your whole crew know that you about to black out on the dance floor. Like give me a song, give me 3 beats that was like your kind of beat. Because Tramp was slow, but you could get busy to Tramp, but then Set It Off by Kane was kind of fast. So what was your style?
Okay, easy. The first one I'll tell you is Eric B. and Rakim. I Know You Got Soul.
I know you got soul.
It's been a long time. I should have left you without a strong rhyme. Come on. If you played that in any club in New York City or the tri-state area, everybody and their grandmama know what's coming.
And they want a piece of that.
You had I'll take you back, especially for Brooklyn. You had Stetson Sonic. When that
Brooklyn
came on in Latin quarters of Union Square, everybody lost it from the drum roll. Bam, boom, boom, bam, bam, bam. That was crazy. And then you had it's a bunch of songs that inspired the dance. You had Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, the show. Whenever that came on, everybody did the Happy Feet. You had B Fats, Whop It. That came on, everybody did the WAP. You had, you said Kane, but before Kane did Set It Off, he had Ain't No Half Step. You had Nobody Beats the Biz. Whenever that dropped, God bless the dead. Shout out to Biz Markie.
Yeah, that was another ill beat.
When Nobody Beat the Biz came on, it was crazy. And then you had whatchamacallit, what is it? It's so many songs from that era that set it off. You had Raw Bass, It Takes Two.
Yeah, that was crazy.
If you played, as soon as that boom, whoo, yeah, everybody and their mama is moving, their grandmama is moving. It's no way you can't dance when that song came on.
You cleaning the floor with that.
To this day.
Yeah, to this day. You know what I'm saying?
No, but the Stretch, you be cleaning the floor when you hear these types of records, right? You be sliding all over the floor.
Oh man, listen, I'm cleaning the floor, I'm dancing, I'm battling everything moving, I'm dancing with every girl in the club. That was the whole point of the dance, was to meet ladies. The whole battling thing, that was fun for the breakdancing thing. But when we got to the clubs, I'm going to the club to dance with the ladies. I'm going to the club to get as many numbers as I can. As soon as I hit the floor, I'm dancing with one. I see another one, I'm dancing with her. I see another 2. I'm jumping in the cypher with the ladies. The battle thing, I don't care about that unless the ladies looking at somebody else dance, and I got to show them that, nah, I'm better than Duke.
So wait a minute. So you telling me it's safe to say that if you was a wicked dancer, a nice dancer, how you want to call it, you was bagging the women just because of your dance skills?
Listen,
I
son,
can imagine.
the thugs was around us because we brought all the women to the dance floor.
What
I can
the?
see that. I can see that
We
for
brought
sure, though.
all the women to the dance floor. So the hardest heads, hardest niggas in the club would be like this up against the bar or whatever. As soon as the beat drop and we on the floor, them niggas is right by us because all the ladies is where we at. That was
Mm.
the whole thing. That's the, we went to dance and to meet the ladies. And you meet people. I remember dudes be like, yo, I'm fucking with y'all dancing niggas because y'all get all the bitches. Because that was the thing. If you dance, you ain't, I'm not dancing with dudes. I'm dancing for the girls.
Right,
That's a fact.
And then the
right.
dudes want to be around me and my crew because all of the girls is around me and my crew.
Well, so let me ask, so let me ask you another thing then. With all that dancing, y'all bagging all these girls and everybody's standing. But even before they get to that, the fashion, y'all wearing these nice clothes and scraping the floor with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah,
what kind
not
of
at all.
fashion y'all was into
Not
Dudes
at
back
used to have
all.
sweatsuits.
Nah, listen. This is what people don't understand. When you talk about the whole backpack era,
then?
they don't understand where that comes from. That comes from the dancers.
Okay.
First of all, you didn't go to the club with something nice on and slide across the floor. That breakdance shit was over with. If you had on something nice, you danced, you didn't mess up. You brought something to dance in if you was going to do all of that. That's where the
Mm.
whole backpack thing came from. And
Okay.
also, if you wanted, like if you went to a regular club, you could get in with whatever you had on. But if you went to, some adult shit like Studio 54 or, what's the name of that joint? The Red Parrot or something like that, you had to
Mm.
dress up. And if you dress it up and you go on a dance, ain't nobody trying to slide on the floor and they in hard bottoms and church shoes.
Right.
So you brought a change of clothes in the backpack. You brought some fly shit to dance in. You change to your dance shit. You dance all night, and then you go and you change back to your dry shit because you dancing, you getting sweaty and
Yeah,
nasty.
I was about to
He
say
said
that.
the
In the
dry. He said the
wintertime, you
dry
don't
I'm
want
about
to
shit.
to
go
say that.
outside sweaty and nasty. You
So
gonna
wait,
catch
hold on.
pneumonia.
So wait,
So
hold
that's
on.
where the whole backpack thing came up. You knew who was a dancer because they had a backpack on their back.
So hold up. Like my grandmother would say, man. So after you sweating, after you dancing and change your clothes, you taking a horse bath in the bathroom or something? You just take a little
Nigga,
wipe?
hell yeah. You go to the bathroom, you wash it down, and you changing your clothes. If you didn't, you was stinking on the way home, and
You wasn't
niggas is
gonna close the
snagging on
deal.
you.
Yeah, you wasn't gonna close the deal with whatever
Nah,
female you was dancing with if you
ain't
had the
Woo!
nobody
funky.
trying to see you sweaty and nasty. Girls just gave you their number and then you coming out. Nah, that's not gonna work. That never worked. You know what I'm saying? We had to change of clothes.
Oh
We
my
brought
gosh.
stuff to dance in.
Mm.
You
So
know,
so so since we coming up through the times,
Holy
right? We
shit, that shit made
mentioned
me laugh.
we mentioned Beat Street, we mentioned Last Dragon, and then you said Guy, right? So I'm hearing different genres now, right? The girl cruise. What influence or what was it like when Fame came out? Like we're not gonna mention Fame because Fame was a big dance show.
oh
Was
man,
that
That nigga go.
listen, Fame. I tell people this all the time. Fame is responsible. Debbie Allen is responsible for me knowing how to teach the dance.
I thought
I
about
didn't
that when I
know.
saw your bio.
Yeah, man. When I used to watch Fame all the time, and I learned how to count from watching Debbie Allen. You
With
know what
the
I'm saying? That's
with the
how
stick.
I learned how to count. Because you just, we young kids, we don't know how to count. We don't even know that
Right.
there are counts.
Is
We
it the
just
same
dance.
count? Is it the same count as in a song? Like one,
Yeah, that's what
two,
I'm
three,
saying. Like
same
when Debbie Allen would teach, that's where the whole 5, 6, 7, 8 come.
seven. Right, right.
You gotta count people in. You gotta count to keep in the music. So she was the one that I learned from watching Fame. She's tapping the
The
cane to
stick,
keep the
yeah.
time to make sure
Mm.
that you on beat. So that's how I learned how to count. And again, that's early '80s when Fame was coming on, and everybody was watching that. I don't know, when people talk about watching TV, I tell them all the time, there's only a couple of shows that, for me, that were, what is the word? They were really like really super important in my growth as a dancer. Soul Train being number one. Excuse me. What's happening with
With rerun.
Hey, hey,
Rerun
hey.
number two. Um, what's the Shields and Yarnell number three, and Fame number four. You
Yeah,
know,
Fame was
you talking
greatest.
late '70s, early '80s. That's what I watched, and that's what shaped me wanting to, me wanting to be a dancer. But it's no way that uh, I would I would even understand what I was doing if I didn't watch Debbie Allen, because she put, she's a teacher on the show. She's showing you what you need to do for this to be for you to get across. And the show is based in reality because they're supposed to be at LaGuardia High School.
LaGuardia, yep.
I thought it was the other high school, something arts.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's supposed to
LaGuardia
be LaGuardia High School. It's the High
of
School of the Arts.
performing
Oh,
arts,
okay.
yeah.
High School
And
of the Performing Arts. That's
and,
LaGuardia High School.
Oh, I
And
and
the
know.
funny thing is, I know mad people that went to LaGuardia High School and didn't know that Fame was based on that until afterwards.
Ooh,
yeah, that's a
me
fact.
either.
I remember that, yeah.
That was the
But
Performing Arts High School. That's what the show is based in. Is, they once they you got to realize, originally that school wasn't integrated, and then they integrated it, and then you get this influx of Black and Latino youth, and we bring in what we got into it, and that's where Debbie Allen comes in, because she's like, I know what these kids need, and she's showing the white folks in there in the establishment, like, you need Leroy because he's the
Mm.
baddest motherfucker on the block.
I was about to say she bought the ballet person, the street b-boy. She bought the classical dancer, this trained
Yeah,
one
man, she
here,
put it all
and it was
together.
yeah, and
Leroy.
And the
yeah,
funny shit is, that's real. She really does that. She has her own academy, Debbie Allen's dance academy. It's called short Dada for short. And that's what she does in her dance academy. They learn dance from across the board.
Mm. That's great. I never knew that part right there. I mean,
Yeah,
we watch
man.
Fame like crazy, but just the essence of it, how you talking about it now, I'm looking at it kind of, it got me thinking about it totally different. You
Yeah,
know what
when
I
I
mean?
say who the GOAT is for me, as far as dance, is Debbie Allen. Having
I
met and worked with her for real, I know how that what she was doing in Fame is not an act. That's who she
She
is.
is.
nah, she gets
She's
busy,
really
yeah,
about that life.
yeah.
Um,
She definitely gets
I want
busy.
to ask you about, I want to throw this name out to you and tell me what it means to you, this name, Keto.
Oh, my brother, China boy. We miss you, brethren. Yeah, man. That's
Tell the people
Keto
about Keto. Tell
represents
people
the
about
rawest
Keto, man.
form of the dance, the absolute rawest form of the dance. China boy, again, from Brooklyn, you know, love and loyalty. Shout out to my brother. He's low life for he was about that life before people even knew that life. But he was one of the rawest cats. When I met him, he was really young. He's a few years younger than I am, but he was always raw and he was always real. When you was around him, when he danced, it was amazing every time because he had a no nonsense approach to the dance. He did whatever he felt. You
That's
know,
a
he
fact.
he didn't think about what he was doing. He just did it. And then you thought about what the fuck is this nigga on?
For real. For real. For
That's how
real.
that's I try to explain to these kids now, like that's how it was. You needed to be around people that just they dance from the heart, not from the head. And when you dance from the heart, you really showing who you are and what you about, as opposed to putting on a show. A show is, meant to entertain. The dance is meant to communicate.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, Keto was, I used to watch him dance with my other guy, my friend, my brother, Pran Slow. And I used to go by the crib and see them dancing on the steps and dancing in
Yeah, man.
clubs. I'd be like, yo, this dude is this. Like you said, it was like he had a careless, it wasn't nothing from the head. It was coming from like his, I can't even describe it. Like, you know what I mean? The
Yeah,
boy was
man.
this, I'm going to post it on We Are Flat, but the boy was
Yeah,
this.
man.
And he was also in Mariah Carey video, was that Sunshine or something like that, if I'm right?
No, it's called Dream Lover.
Dream Lover, right. You
Yeah,
know what I
man.
mean?
It's 30th
That's,
anniversary of that video this year. And she just put in the summertime she made a short documentary on the making of that. And you could see Keto all up in and out, in and out.
word? I didn't even know that part. I didn't know that part.
She loved Keto. You know what I'm saying? She loved Keto. She loved Rubber Band.
Shout out to Rubber Band. Just text me
Yeah,
too.
man. Shout out to my brothers from the Misfits. Shout out to Prince Low, flyest nigga on earth, and the whole Jiggy squad. From Brooklyn and Harlem. Represent.
Toss it up, Jiggy.
Yeah, man.
That he talking about Jiggy, the rap group and dance group.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing people don't understand is from back then, Jiggy was one of the first ones to show like, the dance and MCing and dancing go hand to hand easily.
With the fashion.
And they brought out, they represent multiple aspects of the culture, as people say, the four elements. Well, they had a DJ, but they definitely had the MC, the fashion, and the dance.
That's a fact.
And it was easy, and they made it look easy.
Acceptable. They made it acceptable. They made it very acceptable.
Look easy. And here we go 30 years later, and what they was rocking then, people is struggling to find that gear now and paying top dollar to look like that now. When
that's a fact.
Like that.
Matter of fact, I don't know if P want me, but I know I ain't gonna say it, but I know P got his gear in some movies.
Yeah.
Prince got some of his gear in movies. People taking his clothes and wearing in movies.
Well, because he's an icon for the for the low life. Forget about it. Like I know people. And I know people in 7, 8 different countries that they know about low life from Prance and Keto.
That's
deep. What I'm saying? They watched the documentary we did. I mean, please, it's a whole contingent of heads, especially in Japan and Korea. Them heads is low life. They really about that, and the whole background of that is from them seeing Prince.
That's a fact. I mean, it's well documented.
Keto.
It's well documented.
Yeah, man.
It's well documented. So since you're talking about all of that right there, you just talked about a whole bunch of names right there, like from all the people in the clubs and Mariah Carey and all them people. How you got introduced to Mariah Carey and all these type of people? I know you say you went on tour and all of that, but I also heard it was a documentary called The Wrecking Crew, if I'm correct?
No, Wrecking Shop.
Wrecking Shop, okay, correct me.
The director of that, okay, everybody know about Method Man and Mary, right? You're All I Need.
Right.
Seen that music video, right?
Correct.
The director of the documentaries we did, she directed that video. Her name is Diane Martell. And what happened was we met her. She was doing originally a documentary about the club nightlife. And she was filming about the DJs and all the house music and the Vulgars and the gay nightlife. And so she was going to all of these clubs and she was filming them. But every club she went to, she saw us.
Oh.
And so she was like, well, who are these dudes? And what are they doing? What is this? And so she met my man Ejo, and she loved the way that he danced. And so he told her, you got to meet the rest of my crew. And he introduced her to me and to others. And then she filmed a documentary. It's called House of Trey. She filmed that documentary. And the first half of that documentary is about us dancing in the club, and you'll see all of the people that was in the clubs at the time. Like, it's funny, in that documentary, you'll see Fredro Starr on Sticky Fingers, because they was in the club dancing with us.
Ooh, I'm glad you brought that up. I heard they was dancers too.
Yeah,
so can
man,
you
they was
confirm
dancers.
Fedro and Sticky was dancers too?
Yeah, man, and they that was Keto's fam, so they was in the clubs with us. You'll see, if you watch that documentary, it's called House of Trey. It's on YouTube. She shot that, and then she liked it, but she shot, it's like a 30-minute documentary. The first half of the documentary is about us dancing in the club and about the dance, and then the next half is about Vogue and the different houses and the history of the dance and the music. So she figured, she loved the part that she did with us, so she said, I want to do a documentary just about y'all. And in between those two documentaries, we worked with her doing music videos and different other things. And it was her who introduced us to Mariah.
Okay.
Mariah had hired her, or her company had hired her to work with her about the dance, because she needed to learn how to perform. And she told her, you need to dance with these motherfuckers. If you really want to learn how to dance, you need these people around you. And so that hook up in unison between, the street dance and her happened because of Diane Martell.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
And then, she actually one of her first performances, I think, was the MTV Music Awards in 1991. And she had the Misfits and my man Henry, dancing for her for that show. And then afterwards, they hired me to dance with my man Link for her. We did was Arsenio Hall, and we did Soul Train. And then they hired me as the choreographer, and the first video that I did with her was Dream Lover, where we was all in the video, and she featured us dancing in the field. That's the first time that's her first crossover, like, hip hop record.
Oh, so it's safe to say that y'all crew was the first one to give Mariah that hip hop look, or that urban look.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look again, she has the making of the 30th anniversary special, the making of Dream Lover. She gives us our flowers in that, because she had this song, and she, it was her first thing of, mixing that, her pop singing with some hip hop stuff. And she came straight through, again, the director of that video, that was her first big video that she directed, was Diane Martell. She did the documentaries, and because she introduced Mariah and got us, Mariah gave her first shot to direct, and that was her first video that she directed. And once she directed that video, she started directing mad other videos, and she started getting hired as a director. And Mariah is who started it. And then she looked to us, Diane and Mariah. We brought, the whole culture with us.
Right, y'all brought that
we
flavor,
brought the streets to her.
New flavor.
That's how she got involved in the whole hip hop thing, and that spawned from Dream Lover to Fantasy, where she got Old Dirty Bastard, and then Honey, and she got Diddy and the Locks, and so it was always.
We ain't gonna worry about all of that. We're gonna worry about how it started, and it started off.
It started because of us, And she gives us our flowers. She's done it in interviews. She tells people, because we was with her. We worked with her for like 15 years, damn near.
15 years?
Yeah, man. One of her first videos Diane did with her was, I think it was Someday. That's 1990 and 1990. Yeah, 1990 to, almost 15 years. So 1990 to 2003. That's 13 years.
Oh, that's a lot of years. That's the dancing for one person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. We did a bunch of stuff with her.
That's a lot of years. The checks had to be good too. Oh,
listen. we did you know, I did 4 tours with her. My crewmates did 5 tours with her. So, you know, we was the blueprint for all of that. And
that's what's up. That's what's up. So let me ask you about this movie called Strictly Biz. How did that work out? How you got up in it? Strictly Business, to be correct.
Shout out to the director, who was a person that I met early on. His name was Rolando Hudson, and we had worked with him. The first time I had met him, he directed Houdini's videos.
Okay.
And that's how I met him. And he was one of the first directors to start directing hip hop videos on a regular. Pardon. And so I met him when we did Houdini's videos, and then I hooked up with him. After that, he was doing a video for what's the name? Jody Watley featuring Eric B. and Rakim. The song is called Friends. And then he was doing another video for Diana Ross. Long story short, we worked with him on multiple videos, and then he got hired to direct the movie. And once he got hired to direct the movie, he was like, okay, I want y'all to be a part of this. And the crazy thing was they hired him to direct the movie, but then he got fired and they brought in another director. But we were still on the staff and they loved us. And so they kept us for the dance scene.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, it's because we made the connection with him early on. And we worked with him on multiple videos that when he moved to do movies, he brought us along.
I want to let the people know, because I know I said Strictly Business, and people, if the people do not know, let the people know who was in that movie, because we talking.
Well, Strictly Business
probably
is
saying,
the
like,
first,
who the hell are they talking about?
First solo starring role for Miss Halle Berry, and first solo starring role for Tommy Davidson of in Living Color fame. You know, and that
what was your scene?
Both of their careers in movies.
What was your scene? Describe your scene to the people with Halle Berry.
Well, the thing about it is,
Google it today.
Her character was Natalie. She was supposed to be, what they would call now, what do you call it? What's the word? An influencer. She was an influencer and you know, club promoter back then in the movie, her character. And so she was in the clubs and promoting. She knew everybody and she could dance. And so they hired me and my crew to do the dance scene with her in the film. And I literally had to work with her for like a month to shoot that one scene. I had to teach her how to move and how to dance.
Whoa. If people, please Google this scene. You had to work a whole month with Halle Berry on this scene. Oh my God. Salute to you.
She didn't, you know, it was her first active role where it was, you know, she was a starring role. And the funny thing is originally she wasn't cast originally for that role. What's her name? The dark-skinned sister from House Party was. They originally cast her for that. And then I don't know what happened, but they broke her out and they put Halle Berry in. And when they put Halle Berry in, you know, she didn't know how to dance and all that, because she wasn't really in, you know, the culture like that. So we had to, you know, teach her how to move. And, you know, I had to work with her first, just me and her for, you know, about a month. And then for that scene with the crew, we had to practice that scene for like almost 2 weeks. And then we shot it. And it made her look like, you know, she was, you know, about that life at the clubs. And she was, you know, an influencer.
It looked real good. It looked real good.
Yeah, man. And we had a good time shooting it.
Yeah, good time shooting. So let's talk about, I mean, since we are Mariah Carey, Halle Berry, let's talk about the the man, the legend, the star, Michael Jackson. Tell us that. I want to hear that phone call that you got for you, and for you to go there to do that and meeting Michael and doing that. Remember the time video, choreography, that video. Hope I said that right.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Fatima Robinson. You know, that came about because what happened was I met Fatima and her partner at the time. Shout out to Tish. Um, I met them through my partner, my man, you know, Henry Link. He had worked with them. Shout out to Rich Nice. He had worked with them, you know, a year or so prior. So they were in town. I think they was working with Bobby Brown at the time.
Okay.
And I met them at what is it? Daddy's house, Puffy's party. And so long story short, we got to meet then, and then we went down to Atlanta. She was flying back to Atlanta because she was again working with Bobby Brown, and I was going down there for this thing called Jack the Rapper. And,
I remember that.
So yeah, we went down, we met, we talked down there. Long story short, I got called to do, I think it was the Billboard Music Awards. They wanted me to do the choreography for that. I think it was for LL Cool J. And at the time, I was working with Dougie Fresh. Shout out to Doug. He was signed to MC Hammer's label. And so shout out to MC Hammer also. I was working with him, and we was on the West Coast in Oakland, not Oakland, what is the name of it? Fremont. It's a suburb of San Francisco, Oakland, where Hammer had his big complex. Long story short, we working there. I get the call. I'm working with Doug and MC Hammer. I get the call to do LL Cool J, and I can't do it because I'm already working. So they asked me, could I recommend someone in Los Angeles? So I knew Fatima was, living in she's from LA, and she was in LA at the time. So I recommended them, to use her, and gave them her information that I had. So long story short, they called her. She did the gig. She called me to thank me, and she was telling me I should come to LA, and because Michael Jackson's having auditions, and I was like, that's cool, but I don't want to audition for Michael Jackson. I don't want to dance. I don't want to be. I did the background dancer thing already. I want to choreograph for Michael Jackson. So we laughed because she thought I was crazy, because she's like, you could go on tour with Michael Jackson, you can make all of this and blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I was like, yeah, that's all well and good. I did that. I've been on tour, I've flown, to this side of the planet and that side without Michael Jackson. So that's not special to me. What was special to me in my mind was I get to choreograph for Michael Jackson. And that's what I told her. So we had this conversation, and literally a month later, we're shooting a video with Dougie Fresh called Busting Out. And this is pre-cell phones. Niggas don't have cell phones yet. We got beepers. And, I get...
Pagers.
Yeah, we got pagers. And so, I get a beep from her, 911. And I'm on the set. We shooting a video right in the city at, on 34th Street. I can't remember the damn ballroom. But long story, we shooting a video there, and I get a beep 911 from her. So I recognize the number. So we take a break from the, we doing rehearsal or whatever. I run up to the phone booth, pick up the phone and call. I call her. She tell me, guess what? We're getting ready to do Michael Jackson. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, I ain't got time for games.
Yeah, you ain't got no time for no bullshit.
Yeah, I got time for the bullshit. Just stop playing with my emotions. I'm like, I'm shooting a video. I'll holler at you later. Stop joking. I hang up. She called me back. She beat me back. 911, 911. I call her back. She's trying to explain to me. I'm like, yo, I don't got time to play. I know we talked about this, and it's a good joke. I gotta go. I gotta
go.
You know, so then I get another 911. It's from a different number. So this time I go back to the phone and I'm calling the number. I'm ready to cut somebody out because, again, I'm working. I call the number like, yo, who this? And it's a male voice. It's like, oh, is this Stretch? Can I speak to Stretch? And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Stretch? Who's this? What's up? My name is John Singleton. I want to fly you to Los Angeles to shoot this video for Remember the Time. Fatima recommended you, and she said I needed you on this video, so I'm trying to make that happen. Now, mind you, I'm holding the phone like it was. Wait, John
This can't
Singleton?
be true. This can't be real.
I'm bugging out because I'm like, John Sing. Wait, Boys in the Hood? Like, it's real like that? Like, Singer call. He's hello. I'm like, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm trying to talk. I don't know what to say. He's like, is this the number I can reach you at? I'm like, no, this is my beeper, but here's my home number, blah, blah, blah. Give him my information. And he's like, yeah, look for a call from me soon. We're setting this up for the new year. So probably fly you out after Christmas, just before New Year's. And I'm like, oh shit, this shit is real. I hang up.
This shit is real.
And I'm standing there for a second, like bugging out, like this nigga just said I'm getting ready to do Michael Jackson. So he got me fucked up. I'm like,
I've got me fucked up right now. You talking like?
Yeah, and I walk back down, to the set, and my folks is all there, and they're like, yo, what happened? You kept running. You got the 911. What's going on? And they can see my face like, yo, what's wrong with you? I'm like, yo, son, we getting ready to do Michael Jackson. Like, what? And I was like, yo, that was Fatima. She called me about this. Like, they same response. Get the fuck out of here. I'm like, now nigga, John Singleton just called me. And now when I say John Singleton, heads is like, what? And so now we yelling and screaming and running around the set, like little kids in the candy store, because I told heads we about to do Michael Jackson. And that's how it came about. They called. I got booked for a flight on New Year's Day. I flew New Year's Day, 1992. I flew to LA and met up with, as I said earlier, Tish picked me up from the airport, drove to Fatima's job. She was a hairdresser at the time. She gave me the tapes that John Singleton gave her, and we drove straight to the studio. And me and Tish is in the studio, freestyling, making up stuff for the video. Then Fatima come, and she see what we do, and she add, and we start making up everything that you see in that video right then and there. January
all of that
1st.
Shit, all of that.
January 1st, 1992.
No, that shit was dope, though, man. How many days it took y'all to do that?
A month. We did the audition January 2nd. We had the call back, I think it was January 4th, and we have rehearsals from from January 4th all the way through the first 2 weeks till like January 20th, something like that. And then the shoot was like 2 weeks. So from 20th to like January 31st, we were shooting that video. And in between that time, Michael got sick. So a bunch of stuff that we were supposed to be doing for the video never got shot. That video would have been even better if we got to do those things. But we shot all the way up until literally January 31st, 30th, 31st, something like that. Then he edited that whole time, February 1st, and the video premiered February 2nd. So we did that whole month for that video.
That's what's
the
up.
longest video shoot I ever been on. A whole month.
It was long, but it was all worth it.
I mean, it's Remember the Time.
So how was Michael, like even though when you were doing all this for the whole month, how it was dealing with Michael one-on-one, like to show him a move or something, like how it was?
The craziest thing about Michael is he wanted to learn everything. Any little move we did, What is that called? How did you make that up? You wearing those boots, because I had on Tim's. Do they give you good balance? Are they too heavy? Are they light? Why do you dance in those boots? You got on baggy jeans. Does that give you a leg? Like, he had questions like that.
Everything. Okay.
He questioned everything. And I'm like, what is this nigga on? Like, why are you asking me questions? I don't know shit. You Michael Jackson. I should be asking you questions. You know, but that shows you the level of commitment that he had to his craft. For me especially, in the crew, we looked at it like, if he's on it like this, it's not a game.
He on his shit. He on his shit.
He already a multi-millionaire, damn near billionaire. He don't got to be doing this shit like this. He don't got to go hard like this, but he's going hard. It's no excuse. It's no excuse. And it tells you, like, if you want to not get to that level, but get to that level and stay at that level, you got to be committed to your craft. You got to be responsible for what for what you're doing, because nothing stays the same. Everything changes.
You got to
reinvent. You can't adapt to that change.
Yourself all the time.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to maintain that level of success. So for me, it was like, this dude, like, I don't want to hear it, because like regular heads, like, they think, Michael Jackson, they became Michael Jackson fans from like Thriller, Motown 25. I was a Michael Jackson fan from when I was a kid. I remember the cartoon with the snake and the car and his brothers and doing the spin. And come on, man, he had a cartoon. They had the
figures.
Action figures, the variety show. This is way before Thriller.
Yeah, we was Jackson 5 fans before Michael. You know what I mean? Before Michael should be Jackson 5 fan.
Yeah, I was Jackson 5 fan. So I wasn't a Michael Jackson fan from Thriller. Like, that was the icing on the cake. We already had the cake. Thriller was just letting niggas know, like, nah, man, I'm next level with this shit. I ain't with the Jackson 5 no more. It's all about me. So I was bugging out, like.
So when you've been around Michael, like, do you ever hear Michael play, like, what kind of music Michael used to play, like, when he's around y'all? Like, did he play?
Nah, the thing about it was, he didn't play, like, he didn't listen to, he was so focused on what we was doing, he didn't play no other music. He was focused on the job at hand. Only thing that he played that I heard of his music was other songs that he had done with Teddy Riley.
Oh, okay.
So I heard all of that first. The funny thing is, I first heard the songs that he did with Teddy Riley before it ever came out, because when I was working with Doug and MC Hammer, a lot of people don't remember this, but MC Hammer was trying to go at Mike with that Too Legit to Quit shit.
He was?
Yeah. You look back at that video, you see he got James Brown in the video, and he's talking shit. He's trying to go at Mike. And at the end of the video, he got somebody with the glove trying to do Too Legit to Quit. And so his whole promotion and idea back then was he was trying to go at Mike, to challenge Mike to be like show for show and blah, blah, blah. He thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
So me and Doug was like, how Richard Pryor said, "Nah, that nigga's crazy." So we was like, "Yo, you wildin'." But him and his brother had a copy of Michael's album before it came out, and so they played all of the songs that Teddy Riley did. So I heard all of this stuff before everybody else, and before I got the job. I already knew about how good the music was because Hammer had it, and they didn't like any of the songs that he did, except Remember the Time.
Ooh.
They thought all the other songs that Teddy did sounded like, like stuff that he did with Guy or whatever. But they said
so wasn't
when they played
Mike's
Remember the Time, they was like, now this right here is fire. And I was
Okay.
laughing because I'm like, nigga, all of that shit is fire. What are
Yeah,
y'all
yeah,
talking
you
about?
sitting back like, yo, this shit is fire. These niggas is like, nah, this shit's garbage. We gonna throw
Yep.
this out. You
I
like, oh,
was
you
like, yo,
crazy.
y'all are wildin'. But for me, I laughed because that was the spirit preparing me. That's how I looked at it, because the one song that they thought was good was Remember the Time, which ended up being the song that I did after working with them. I ended up doing the choreography for.
So that's the only time you ever worked with Mike? That was
I
the
worked
first?
with him again. We did his concert in DC for 9/11.
Okay.
You know, when he had the special concert, he brought Mariah down. I was working with Mariah at the time. We had done I think it was a VH1 Fashion Awards.
Okay.
It's October or something like that. October, November 2001. This is not long after 9/11. He was doing a special concert, and he brought Mariah down to perform, and I did, the choreography and staging for her. And then we all had to be on the stage with him. And so I got to, work with him for that concert again. But that was the only other time.
Okay. I mean, but shit, one is good enough, but you got 2 times to work with the great legend.
Listen,
So
man,
I
one
know
time was
I know
enough for
that feel
me
good.
because I, as me and Fatima, every time we talk, we laugh. I say we made history. It's the only video that Michael Jackson is doing hip hop.
Yo, say that again.
The only video Michael Jackson is doing hip hop in, and it's the only video he'll ever be doing hip hop in.
And who put that together? And where you from?
Flatbush, don't get it twisted. The
All right,
funny
before
thing
we
is, it's me and my man. Shout out to my brother, Loose Joint. He's a Flatbush head too. He's from Flatbush too. He moved to the city, but I know him from Flatbush. We met and we was both raised in Flatbush. So when we was doing that video, we was representing Flatbush.
Okay. Before I mean, I want to salute to you, you know what I mean? Because we had you on the platform, we got you on the platform. And the story that you gave us tonight was some ill shit. You know what I mean? I don't think people understand that what you went through and what you have done and collaborated towards the hip hop culture was very big from them times to now. And we salute you. We all Flatbush definitely salute you. Sonny, Face, Popeye, we salute you for your part in the hip hop culture and in the dancing culture. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, I got another question to ask you because somebody just texted me that one. You lit up the Empire State Building for the 50-year anniversary
earlier this year.
Can you talk about that quick before we get out
Shout
of
out
here?
to Prince Low, my God, my G. They were having this celebration, on the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and it was through I think it's called Fashion Forward, and they wanted it to represent the different aspects of the culture, but they wanted to represent about the dance, what's happening in the dance now, not just break dancing and stuff. So they asked Prince, and he was like, you got to get my man, my man Stretch. And for me, it was such an honor to be to be blessed to be in the company of people that I came up with. As I said, when we started on this freestyle hip hop journey, one of the first people that I worked with was the god Rakim. So to be honored with him, to be honored with Grand Poobah, to be honored with Roxanne Shante, who I met, God bless the dead, through Biz, the great Biz Marquis, to be honored with Red Alert, who, again, I started my career off in hip hop, freestyle at Union Square Latin Quarters with Red Alert. Red Alert was the resident DJ in both of those places. So to be honored with them, was crazy to me. Like, like to see Rakim and to talk to him. I hadn't seen Rakim since we toured together.
Ooh.
You know, I toured with him. That was his first tour, my first tour, the Def Jam tour with LL Cool J, Public Enemy, Houdini, Eric B. and Rakim, Stetson Sonic, and I'm forgetting somebody
That's
else.
a tour.
Yeah, you know, and that's on that tour. I had already met Rakim because, like I said, I did his first video, and then we hooked up on that tour. And Roxanne Shante came out on that tour for the West Coast end. And I met Kane. Big Daddy Kane was her DJ at the time. He didn't even have a record out yet.
Damn.
You know, so I met Kane on that tour. As I said, I met Pooh Bah in Union Square. You know, so to be in the same room and to be being honored for representing the culture with these people, you know, it's still I'm still tripping off of that. You know, looking back at the pictures and you know, taking pictures with them, having conversations with them. You know, shout out to again to my man Prince for hooking that up. Shout out to Milk D who walked in the room and showed me love, you know, immediately. You know, it was a trip. I hadn't seen him, you know, since like 87, 88 with MC Light, you know, and you know, so it's still an honor to even, you know, be included in that conversation. I'm still tripping off of that.
That's deep. That's deep. I mean, you named some legends there, man. You named some real sincere legends in the game, man. Like I said, it's an honor.
Still right here.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that, people. Look at
right
that.
on my joint. Right here. I just remembered this shit is right behind me. You know?
Man.
So, you know.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. It's an honor to have you on here, man. Is there any last words you want to tell the people before we get out of here out of Flatbush?
Yeah, man. I just want people to understand, like, you know, we all come from humble beginnings, you know, and you never forget those beginnings. You know, you don't forget where you're from. You know what I'm saying? Rakim said it ain't where you from, it's where you at. But you can't get to where you at if you don't know where you came from. You know, and for me, Flatbush is, you know, I can't even discuss or put to words how much Flatbush means to me in my life. When anybody that know me know that I talk about Flatbush all the time. You know, I learned 90% of what I know about this game, and like I said earlier, as the mobsters would say, I made my bones in Flatbush. You know what I'm saying? That was that was the launch point for me for everything, and I'm forever grateful for that. You know, and you know as I said, it's not just my Caribbean side; it's my mom's side too, because they all lived. Her family lived up. We lived up and down Flatbush as well. So
y'all lived around Flatbush, man.
Yeah, man. I done lived all over Flatbush, man. I used to live on Hawthorne and Nostrand. You know, shout out to you know, Big Ill Mac from Ill Al Scratch fame. He was one of my, you know, my good friends and dance partners, you know, when we started. And then
so my Ill Al Scratch, right? My
homies.
Man.
Big Ill Mac. That's
he from Flatbush too?
He's from Flatbush. That's why I'm shouting him out.
I've been trying to get at him, man. Tell him to holler at your boy, man.
Yeah, Flatbush used to live on Hawthorne and Nostrand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
So
this is one of the great ones we got here tonight, man. This is a great convo we had.
Yeah,
this is a beautiful convo. This is a beautiful. I mean, I want to say one last thing, and then we got to shut it down. Who you think is the best dancer, Chris Brown or Usher? One word, man. One word.
Chris Brown or Usher?
Yeah.
I got to give it to Chris Brown.
Salute.
I got to give it to Chris Brown. Listen, that boy could do multiple things. Usher could dance. You know, Usher's good, but Usher's thing is more about singing than dancing. Chris Brown is about singing and dancing. And Chris Brown come from, you know, from Harlem Shake and Light Feed, and he studied the you know, the art forms. I mean, he did his video and he included Papa Pete and gave him his whole own section in that video. Like, I got to give him his flowers for that because he's a student of the game.
That definitely true. Thank you, man. Thank you for jumping on for We Are Flatbush, man.
All day,
Thank you,
every
man.
day. And again,
Thank you,
shout
man. I
out to
gotta
my
salute
people,
you.
my man, Prance Low. Salute. Love and loyalty, King. You already know.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Everybody, man, subscribe to the page, like the button. If you love the history, tell a friend, tell a friend. We Are Flatbush. Tap in, circa 19XX Podcast, Industry Hotel, Sunny Winters TV, Jai Ace TV. We are family out here.
All
Thank you,
day,
Stretch.
every day.
Please. I'm going to hit you up, Stretch.
Be safe. 100.
Thank you, man.